Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fifth podcast of CIPS MENA Procurement Master Talk series. I'm your host, Lalit Dhamija. After my corporate career spanning 37 years, I am currently global procurement and supply chain trainer and coach. I've been working as a CIPS volunteer in UAE since 2009. Today, I am honored to be joined by Mr. Hariharan, Laxminarynan. We will talk about mentoring, branch committees, growth of procurement profession. I will summarize the key learnings at the end of the podcast. CIPS MENA Procurement Talk series covers in-depth interviews with procurement and supply chain management professionals from various diverse industries. The stories about high and lows in the lives of procurement masters provide thought-provoking insights to face the market challenges in procurement professionals' pursuit to become strategic partners of their organizations. Our guest for today is Mr. Hariharan Laxminarynan. He is a chartered fellow of Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply and of fellow of Institute of Logistics Management, and he is a CIPS Global Congress member and chair of CIPS Northern Emirates branch, and he is also head of procurement in Emirates Global Aluminium. Hari is a passionate and innovative leader offering 25 years of enriched experience in procurement and supply chain operations. He contributes to diverse business verticals and drives value through enhancing performance to top and bottom line strategies. He has worked with global giants such as Sterlite, Vedanta, PSCG Global USA, Reliance, GMR, and now with Emirates Global Aluminium. His core areas of success lies in transforming processes, process efficiencies, supplier partnerships, and engaging successful stakeholders relationships. A very dynamic leader. He has enabled his people to start from low and slow to high performances, leading them winning CEO awards for individuals and the team awards for initiatives beside him himself. He has won several awards from CEOs, CIPS, and other international organizations. The industry and this region also knows Hari more as a mentor, coach, motivator, a trainer, and a guide for young procurement professionals within the MENA region. So he has successfully driven talent development and succession planning programs. He has worked with schools, colleges, educational councils in UAE, India, and Africa. As a student and professional mentoring, he has organized annual industry trips for 40 plus African professionals to UAE over the last 4 years and enabling and organizing mentor talks to by leaders across MENA region. A very rich profile indeed. Mr. Hariharan, welcome to the CIPS Procurement Master Talks.
Thank you so much, Lalit. The description looks too long, but I really want to be humbled. Learning is a passion, and learning is an experience. And I'm sure everybody will agree with me that every situation and every person that you meet, you always learn something, and that is exactly why people are here. And I am also here to learn as well as share. It's an humble opportunity. Thank you, CIPS, and thank you, Lalit, for inviting me here. It's indeed a very, very humble opportunity, but a great pleasure.
Hari, knowing you from more than last 10 years, I can say you are a true procurement leader and a real role model for all of us in the procurement community in the MENA region. There's a lot to emulate, lot to work. You work tirelessly for the procurement community, and in general, you are associated with so many charities, and you are unstoppable. You are into so many activities and do everything to perfection. I personally have to learn and emulate many things what you are doing. So, Mr. Hari, we are starting now. First of all, the first question is, how did you enter the procurement and supply chain world?
Hmm. Very interesting question, actually.
Mhm.
I am basically an electrical engineer.
Uh-huh.
So that was my background. And if somebody has to go back and check 40 years back my student or college career, people would be a bit shocked because I was the most stupid student and most careless student. So I don't think anybody would have expected me to reach where I
Mhm.
am today
Mhm.
in terms of education. So I was completely written off at each stage and each phase of my academic career.
Mhm.
Anyway, I did my electrical engineering, and like everybody uh, gets a chance um, in the what is the career fair. So I also got a dream job, which is basically in one of the leading companies, which was designing and commissioning electrical control panels. So that was particularly a dream job for a lot of electricians or electrical engineers, because that's where your passion lies, in understanding the power circuits, the distribution circuits,
Mhm.
designing it, testing it. So those were the fields which I started working on, and I was taken up as a graduate trainee responsible for designing the control panels in terms
Mhm.
of the bus bar capacities, ratings, making sure that the motors and the other capacities are taken care of. Subsequently, I also started visiting the customer places where the commissioning was happening, to
Mhm.
understand, also to learn from the seniors in the industry as to how commissioning activities are done, how are the isolations done, how is the designs, and how are the panels aligned with the circuits, aligned with the incomers, aligned with the switch gears. So that is where I started my commissioning experience. In one particular such customer locations, which is one of our biggest customers, who used to buy control panels every month, and they were one of the most, I think you must have heard of the company called Indorama and Nippon Japan,
Yes.
these two
Yeah.
companies. So they were the ones who were expanding continuously. So in one of those site facilities, it so happened that there was a space constraint, and the panel had to be installed within that space allotment. So the challenge was to redesign the whole control panel in a way that it can fit there and also take the necessary load from the power cables. So
Mhm.
I had to join the team which went back to the suppliers to relook at how the starters, how the contactors, how the entire bus bar system can be relooked at it, how to optimize the space.
Mhm.
And that's my first stepping stone into procurement, because I started looking at what is available in the market that can go and fit into the control panels,
Wow.
where I can reduce the space. So it actually led on to panel efficiencies, panel effectivities, and some kind of a dimensional changes, and then looking at what's available in the market, reduce the cost. So at the end of the day, it all went back to the origin of procurement, to look at suppliers, to look at the sourcing process and those sort of things. And that was my first step into procurement.
Fantastic story. Fantastic story. Right from the beginning, you have said, and it is very hard to believe what you said during your student days, because you are absolutely excellent and on the dot, whatever task or events you're managing. And you really described very well your journey, how you entered into procurement and supply chain world. And Hari, if your colleagues were to describe you in three words, what would they be? What are your three attributes?
Very difficult question. I myself do not know what my team would be calling him. Hopefully, they don't call me crazy. So that's one hope which
No,
I
no, not
have.
at all. Yeah.
But yes, maybe I'm just taking a wildest guess. So maybe those three words which I would love to hear from my people, I'm hoping that I have delivered this is all the three C's, which is basically caring,
Wow.
competent, and committed.
Really, knowing you from more than a decade, I can say absolutely true. Caring, committed, and committed.
Competent.
Competent, yes, sure. Tell us something about your hobbies and time outs.
Well, I love traveling, that's for sure. I love traveling to places where nobody has gone, to explore things which are unknown, to walk out when I do the walking, also always taking the different routes,
Mm,
trying to see how people are, trying to see how places are, how things are happening.
right.
I'm in love with the unknowns, so that's one good hobby. And then the second thing is reading. So if you give me a newspaper or a book anywhere in the world,
Uh-huh.
I can always spend my whole day there. If I'm stuck anywhere in an island or in an airport, I
Mhm.
can always grab the nearest book and I will never know how the time went by.
And not only reading, you are writing also. Every day we get updates in the morning and we wonder from where you get time to write all those articles in the morning, which we get on WhatsApp and also on LinkedIn. You're contributing articles and posts regularly, sometime more than one in a day. What
Well,
is your,
Lalit, actually,
uh,
just to share a story because you're mentioning that point,
yes.
when I was not doing so well in the academics,
Uh-huh.
my passion was to sit in a corner and write actually in the
Ah,
classroom.
okay.
So, and that habit has profiled. And even before I passed out my 10th, I
Mm-hmm.
was actually writing small snippets for the leading newspaper in that region.
See?
Somehow, I don't know, they used to pay me. This was in late 1980s. So writing
Uh-huh.
for one particular snippet, I used to get 25 Indian rupees, which is 2
Oh.
dirhams. So,
Uh,
and I had
okay.
to cycle. That means I had to pedal out about 4 kilometers to get the
Mm.
25 rupees. And I was very passionate about that. So the
Yeah.
more I write, the more I get those 25s. So that is
Yeah.
how the writing skill originated.
Yes. That's good to know that. Good. That is wonderful. And which places have you visited? Like you said, you want to visit places which is not
I've go-
visited
okay,
much
so
by others. Hmm?
I've been to Nepal
Oh,
in the Asian territory. I think I've gone to Nepal. I've gone to a lot of forest areas in the southern
okay.
India. On
Uh-huh.
the European side, I've gone to Italy. I've gone to Switzerland.
Okay.
I've gone to France.
All right.
I've touched the borders of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the places where I have been. And usually I don't go to the places where people say you have a schedule which the travel agent says, okay, these are the top spots.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the spots which I don't
Uh,
want to look at it. So I want to look at the places where people have really not gone, because that's where the entire beauty of the whole exploration is actually.
yeah. I saw your photographs in Africa also. Did you visit Africa, some countries?
I went to the forest areas in Kenya actually.
How is the current situation changing your thinking or approach towards procurement, supply chain in the industry and market as a whole?
A lot of thought professionalism is coming into me. I'm sure everybody must be experiencing that,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of thought leadership as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of thinking mindset which is getting changed, and I am part of that also.
Mm-hmm.
Always looking out. I mean, the things are definitely changing. The way the businesses are happening is changing.
Mm-hmm.
I look at procurement and supply chain also in the same lines. To me, there are two kinds of professionals, according to me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you have actually seen, there will be two sets of professionals.
Yeah.
One is called as the doctor fix it, which means that any industry will see that if you have an issue, if you have a breakdown, if you have a stock out, there are a lot of good procurement professionals who will immediately make sure that you have the replacement or you have a solution. So that's doctor fix it. This guy. who when confronted with a problem, he will immediately look for a solution, and also he
Yes.
will make sure that he will apply the first solution that comes to the mind.
Uh-huh.
And whenever there is a problem, and look at solving it shortly and quickly. So today, when you look at COVID, I personally feel that a lot of people are running to this particular professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is China, okay, now the reaction is that, okay, stop China, go for local.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have a situation locally breaking out, then again you will go back to China.
Mm-hmm.
If there are force majeure clauses, which is only the criteria which has caused a lot of hindrance, so people are now only concerned about force majeure clauses,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the contract has different other clauses.
Yes.
And then there is a second set of supply chain professionals who have a bit of higher, I would rather say they have a higher degree of, let's say, an emotional maturity or a mental agility.
Mm-hmm.
They must have, and they will always build a strong resilience, let's say, to pause or to take a stop, to review and to look at what is happening. And then, okay, yes, there is solution to be provided, but also at the same time, talk to the affected parties, maybe to the suppliers, to the stakeholders, to the
Mm-hmm.
logistics, go
Mm-hmm.
back and check the market, find out what is the purpose of what we are trying to do. A more of an investive, thoughtful, and maybe conceptual professional. So I would say I come into this bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Bear in mind that supply chain business continuity, which is the impact of COVID, has to become a very, very serious issue when you look ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, an element of innovation has to come in,
Right.
an aspect of value driver has to come in, a continuous monitoring of risk, which becomes a more of an hobby now for procurement professionals. It has to become like that. We should be conscious enough of that. A very clear, logical mindset,
Mm-hmm.
courageous enough to take decisions. The summary of all this, what I'm trying to say is
Yeah.
enabling a decision making has to become a hobby of a procurement professional. We sometimes are very comprehensively afraid of taking decisions as to, and this comes because we are not very sure what is the information, or we do not know where we are going towards. So if you are going to be comprehensively good enough with a logical mindset, understanding everything, then I think the decision making becomes easier. And that kind of professionalism is required as we look ahead.
Hari, you are right. We are trained in many tools and techniques, and through qualifications, we get so many concepts, so much education, so many tools and techniques. But when to use, where to use, how to use, whether you got attitude to use it or you want to live with the status quo, these all things are important, like you summed it all in mental agility, higher degree of emotional maturity with the business continuity and stakeholders management, like we say, elements of innovation, risk monitoring. So this all boiled down to what you said is enabling decision making, and especially now when we have uncertain circumstances, no trends are available, no history is available, and we are like going through uncharted waters. So in these circumstances, in this situation, decision making is core, and we need leaders, procurement leaders, who are decision makers, who are leading from the front. So wonderful. And beyond this pandemic, what are the key trends companies will need to consider? How do you think we will need to kickstart procurement and supply chain once things begin to recover?
Very interesting question. I think I'm sure everybody must be asking this question.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I definitely wanted to add on from what we just discussed a minute back.
Yeah,
See, whether it's a professional or a leader, just to summarize, I'm saying we also need to be very conscious of where we are and what are our drivers.
right.
So we need to be very comfortable. I mean, at the end of the day, we should be able to bend ourselves, let's say, or we should be able to rise ourselves as well. I mean, that aptitude and the attitude to bend down or look up, that should be very
Mm-hmm.
easily available in every professional and leader. So when we look at the trends for the future, the first and foremost is to be mentally and physically prepared in that respect. So, and definitely the supply chain, we are the masters in that. Nobody else knows better. So I
Yeah.
don't think we should be asking people what to be done. We need to make ourselves competent and make sure that we know our business well.
Yeah.
So now coming to this question, I think every professional and every leader, I'm sure they will have their own set of perspectives. I'm just sharing what is my perspective. Um, I always believe, and I think I will continue to believe that a lot of investment and efforts in planning and looking ahead. This is going to be a very, very critical area for procurement. We have
Mm-hmm.
often been led by demand and supply, and we often say, let's get the demand and then we will look at supplies. I think we should be very, very conscious to start looking ahead, trying to cover up all our risk monitoring mechanisms, look at the governance aspects of our entire supply chain network. We should have a very, very clear visibility at the back of our brain, as good as how we know our house very well with all the rooms. Similarly, we should know our entire supply chain network as clearly as possible. You can include as much of ethics, transparency, partnerships, all those elements are great.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we should know our network very well. Talk about buyer and seller markets. I'm sure a lot of people keep talking about buyer and seller markets, saying
Mm-hmm.
that this is seller's market, so let's go to them, or it's buyer's market, let's cut out everything.
Yeah.
I think we should be looking more at opportunities, more at situations, more at critical analytics, and straightly look at favorable situations. Don't forget that we are procurement professionals, so we should not break ethics. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen the recent Gartner webinar which we did as a branch,
Mm-hmm.
they showed a report which clearly said that there are a lot of new working trends for efficient. These are maybe, like, say, they talked about elimination, for example. They said for getting better efficiency, you need to simplify the process.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need to utilize your resources effectively,
Right.
look for specialized talents, maybe standardize wherever possible, make things simpler. You need to automate for sure, which is basically more for information. So that's another point I would definitely want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about technology and automation. I'm not too good in that. But one simple thing I understand very well is I use my technology and my automation only for information purpose. If the buyers are going to sit back and say, let the technology run its own RFQs, let the technology give its own comparatives, let the technology itself talk about suppliers, I don't think we are doing the right thing. As long as they give us information which enable us to take decisions,
Mm-hmm.
use technology, use automation for analytics. But then at the end of the day, you need to get involved in terms of taking a decision. The trend, if you now, based on this, if I have to look back and say what is the trend going to be, I think we should start working more towards our stakeholders and partners, make the relationship more optimized and simpler, uh, make the entire supply chain more simpler, get straighter, become more agile, be more flexible, have the right attitude and the right aptitude, and know the entire supply chain network. The
Mm-hmm.
procurement professional for tomorrow post COVID, I think he need to have all this in mind, either as a professional or as a leader.
Wonderful. Quite good and variety of points you have said. Make things simpler. Know your entire supply chain network very well. Do proper risk monitoring and governance. Use technology and automation to your benefits. And of course, you have to get involved with the process. Technology cannot do everything. And of course, make the relationship optimized. That was remarkable. And
Just to, can I
mhm.
just take a minute to
Yeah, sure.
suppose if somebody is listening, I'm saying as a professional.
Hmm.
So these are all a lot of descriptive trends I've talked about, but my people keep on asking me what I should do next. What is the
Yes,
next? So
yes.
I would definitely say that there are three things which, as a professional, we should be focusing on looking ahead, looking at the trend, the way the businesses are changing.
Hmm.
The first thing is to expect problems for sure. So be prepared for problems so that you are an enabler.
Hmm.
So that's one part of it. So ability to be flexible, to be responding, to be taking decisions. So that build yourself up. Second thing is you need to be a very, very good collaborator. So when we talk about collaborations, I can collaborate with my suppliers very well. But then at the end of the day, if the logistics guy doesn't collaborate with my supplier to pick up the material, then that's a failure. So I look at it as collaboration as my ability to make two third parties collaborate with each other for my own benefit.
Yeah.
Second thing is also the communication part of it. Communication is going to become a very, very critical part going ahead. How you are going to be in touch with your stakeholders, suppliers, and your own board levels. And the last and the least is make yourself visible. If you want to survive for next COVID, you need to be visible to your suppliers, to your stakeholders. Make sure you are available in the system.
Good one. Be visible to stakeholders and suppliers. And communication, as you said, is important, and be a very good collaborator. And of course, expect problems. You can't, problem will always be there. So, and so that you are an enabler, you have to expect problems. All right, Hari, now, are you changing the way that you work with your suppliers or customers due to the coronavirus?
You want to get me on the wrong foot, okay?
Anything confidential we don't want to
No,
know,
no,
but in
not
general,
that.
generic things will be important for our audience.
Sure, sure. I think definitely, I'm sure all the professionals are going to change the way they are going to work with our suppliers.
Yeah.
One big change I see in myself or my people, the way they are working and the way we are talking and the way the landscape is changing.
Yeah.
I think be it with the end users or even within other partners within the supply chain, whether it is suppliers or even the logistics part of it. And then getting into your own supplies and demands. People are going to say reduce, the board is going to say cut down your cost.
Yeah.
Stakeholders are going to be challenged to reduce your demand levels. Suppliers are going to be asked to cut down your pricing levels. So it's always going to be a give and take between your stakeholders and your suppliers. How we are going to align with both of them, how we are going to align with our own bosses who will have their own levels of pressure.
Yeah.
How are we going to make each single drop of, let's say, success? We just smile and we keep enjoying whatever we are doing, and every time we get a small success, we should enjoy. So that's one big change I see, because people are becoming more focused. So that's definitely there. Renegotiation is a one big step which is going to happen hereafter. I'm sure people are started looking at not only at the pricing factor, but also the very commercial terms of business. So that's definitely is changing for sure. And I'm sure everybody must be also having the same experience. Validating every decision that we make, maybe our type of communications that we are now, the level of communication or the manner of communication which we are doing with different people, that's changing. Maybe the way of our questioning the whole process, what, why, how, everything, whether it is with the suppliers or with our stakeholders, even that is changing. And one big change will also be how we are going to now hereafter do the procurement methodology. We used to do standard emailing, calling, RFQs, tenders. Maybe all this is going to change. I mean, we will have to relook at how we are actually changing in practicality today. It's not a standard tendering practice we want to follow now. We also want to make sure that we cut our cost. We go to the right sources. We don't want to do too much of competitive positioning, as long as we know that we get 20, 30, 40% lower. As far as that is there, fine. Enhancing collaborations within suppliers. At the end of the day, also improving the net effect, productive profit balance. All these things are becoming very, very conscious. So in that manner, I think more of sustainability than survival. So I think those are some of the keys how we are changing our practices today.
Very well said. The last one I liked, more of sustainability than survival, but difficult
Because
to
there are a lot
implement.
of, there are a lot. No, I mean in the sense how we look at the whole supply chain, because it all depends on the individual's organization and environment and where they are today.
Absolutely.
But having said that, I think a lot of people are focusing on surviving.
Yeah.
But I think we also, as supply chain professionals, we should be going one step further, because we don't want to lose our stakeholders' trust, and we don't want to lose our supply chain partners. So in that
Wonderful.
respect, we also need to be putting our efforts somewhere. It need not be officially broadcasted and put it on the supply chain board saying that we are doing this. But then whatever we are doing, we need to make sure that we are sustaining for the future by taking stakeholders trust and also supply chain suppliers partnerships. So that
That's
needs to be
a remarkable message, what you said. Like we have to see long term. Now people will remember you how you treated them during this
for sure.
crisis. And
Correct.
if you are doing efforts towards sustainability that way in the long term or in the medium term, those are going to reward you. Like you are maintaining stakeholders' trust and you are retaining these partnerships, that will be really giving benefit to the organization. Very well said. See, we can still survive and we can still be sustainable. We can survive and still be sustainable by little fine tuning. The maybe the methodology, the way we are doing. Further, will remote working and digitization play a bigger role from now on?
I think yes, sir. That will be definitely there. I think
Hmm.
businesses are going to change and
Yeah.
technology is going to play a bigger role.
Yes.
I hate to say this, but I am not at all a technological guy. I think I'm not a
Hmm.
millennial and I'm not at all comfortable with technology. But then having said that, one thing is for sure, technology is coming. If you see the last 10 years,
Yeah.
I'm sure we all know about, let's say, what the high-speed computing,
Hmm.
e-tendering platforms, maybe
Yeah.
online biddings,
Yeah.
even auctions were new to us, the
Uh-huh.
e-auctions, reverse auctions. Now we are talking about artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
blockchains, etc.
Yeah.
For me, I look at all this in one simple thing.
Hmm.
Technology for me has two purposes.
Yeah.
One, it has to have the power of information.
Yeah.
When I say power of information means what am I getting it? What are the data and information the technology will give me to make me a better decision maker?
Yeah.
Second thing is the speed with which this information is available. So these are the two fundamental aspects for me. So if I can get the power of information and the speed, that means my technology works for me. And if these two are available, then the whole analysis, the past, the forecast, the plans for the future,
Yeah.
preparing contingencies,
Hmm.
maybe taking strategic decisions, becoming more efficient or effective decision maker. So all this is going to come in. And the way we see today,
Hmm.
technology is going to be one of the most key critical elements as we go forward. Not
Yeah.
only because we are working from away from home, also the risk of cyber attacks or anything of that sort, but
Hmm.
also the business continuity in terms of building up the technology platforms, bringing more transparencies now going forward post COVID. So I think blockchain, Internet of Things, and the way we work on technology is going to definitely going to change.
You said you are not in for digitalization or you are not a fan of technology, but the depth of your response says a volume how you are trying to use technology, how much you are aware of that. Because, see, the very purpose we are doing this online interaction now, before I know, we had to attend an event, say in Dubai or Ras Al Khaimah. For 2 hours event, we'll travel the full day going and coming from say Abu Dhabi. So now because of technology, it is like you rightly said, it is the power of information and the speed at which the information is available. It is facilitating. So correctly, like you are using that technology for making a correct decision, for strategic decision making. So you are using that technology, and I'm seeing you are using it, and because of this digitization, we are able to work remotely. Organizations which were already prepared, they got benefited, and others who are not prepared, still they have to go and work with hard copies and go and see their contracts in the office. So in some way, like you said, technology is coming and becoming a part of our lives.
Also,
Uh-huh.
somebody had asked me will consultancy sustain in the future? Will organizations still go for consultancies or
Mm-hmm.
consultants?
Yeah.
And the same applies for technologies also.
Yes.
And my answer was very simple. Maybe I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but one, it will definitely sustain for one simple reason, which
Mm-hmm.
is our weakness also. I will share it why. See, each consultant, whenever if you have observed it, they will come and they will, when they leave, this give you a report to
Yeah.
the board, and that report
Yes.
clearly talks about P for profitability. It clearly says how much is the profitability.
Mm-hmm.
We are in procurement. We talk about P for people, professionals, processes, policies,
Yeah.
partnerships, everything.
Yeah.
But we always talk about cost reductions,
Mm-hmm.
which we are very shy to translate that in terms of profit for the business.
Mm-hmm.
We always talk about what we have done here. We created new 10 vendors.
Yeah.
We did this, we did that. But consultants and technology for that matter, it all
Yeah.
translates to P for profits.
Yeah.
So till the moment we are loud enough, uh, visible enough to go back and demonstrate to our people, to the
Mm-hmm.
board in terms of profitability,
Yeah.
till we do that, I think technology and consultants, these two will continue to sustain. So when we talk about technology for tomorrow, we should be intelligent enough, like rightly you said just now, the speed of procurement information and the power of information. We should be able to use that at all levels.
And see, this is the time for procurement to shine. I know when in 2014-15 the oil prices came down, that time how the organizations took that opportunity to transform themselves. I can talk about ADNOC, how the complete transformation of procurement in ADNOC took place. And one of the first thing pillars they told us was profitability. First thing, if you want to create value for the organization, people should understand is profitability. And then it was people development, productivity, and efficiency. Other pillars were that. So you rightly talked
Correct.
about profitability. Till the time we don't understand this language, and if we are not able to contribute, how can we show our value? How can we be the strategic partners to any organization? So, what are your activities at the CIPS Congress? Right? You are a Congress member from the region, from
So I'm basically a Congress member for Middle East and North Africa, which is MENA
North
region.
Africa. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, North Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, Congress members are supposed to be, as per the charter, if you just have to read out from that, then we are supposed to be the voice of the region
Uh-huh.
at the CIPS Global Board of Trustees and as well as for the
Yeah.
Congress Board at UK.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we integrate our regions, our branches with the CIPS offices and the UK offices.
Mm-hmm.
In that way, yes, the Congress members can influence a greater impact both on the institution as well as on the members.
Mm-hmm.
When I joined, frankly, I was not very sure of what's supposed to be, except that, okay, there is a glamour part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I always thought, after my first visit to the Congress, I always thought that, okay, I am definitely passionate about making a difference to the profession and the professionals.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to use the Congress more to change or maybe impact our members and the young minds. So I always thought the region here, MENA, did not have too many activities.
Mm-hmm.
We did have Northern Emirates taking a lot of initiatives, but I wanted this to go across the whole region.
Yeah.
So maybe in the last 6 months, I think we created the two new branches, which is in Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
We also set up a new branch in Bahrain, which came up during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have increased our webinars and our events. So before we had the lockdown, we made sure we had 4 or 5 events in Pakistan. We had 2 events in Bahrain. We did a couple of events in Saudi. And then we also managed to do events in Egypt and Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was trying to engage, let's say the members, give them some kind of a platform, make them
Wonderful.
feel that, okay, this is the pride, this is the passionate thing to do.
Yeah.
For me, the role of Congress is also to make sure that there is a sense of social and a professional belongingness for all the members who are part of the CIPS. So talk about that in that respect. If you're talking about the role, then maybe definitely I feel I would have made some kind of changes. CIPS Congress members also communicate or coordinate in case if required in terms of syllabus changes. We had a lot of exam pattern changes,
Okay.
and also trying to drive out the value drivers for members. CIPS came up, the Congress came up with a lot of initiatives saying that yes, we want to change a lot of things in the way the Congress works. So they had active working groups. So at least from that respect, I can also share that I decided to head one of those groups, and we have submitted. I coordinated with Australia, Africa, and Europe. It was very good experience talking to leaders from different regions.
Wonderful.
And then we have submitted the active working group reports in 4 weeks to the Congress.
Right.
And I think we did sufficiently well in that respect. So there are a lot of good changes expected at both regional and the international level within the CIPS. That for sure I can tell you.
Okay, so there is a good contribution to procurement body of knowledge and leadership and opening new branches and making sure that they are doing some activities, some hand holding initially. And I would really want to know, you conduct so many events in as far as your you are chair of CIPS Northern Emirates branch. What is the recipe of your successful chairing this remarkable CIPS Northern Eastern Branch Committee? And they have conducted so many of record number of events from in the last 3 years.
This is one personal moment of pride for me. Okay, I have not done anything. First of all, there is a team which is doing it. I need to be admitting that I'm enjoying the harvest of whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to give you an example. Now, this is the era of fast food. So when you go to the hotels and restaurants, you will see that there are a lot of people waiting outside. Correct?
Yeah.
And then you also have some people get bored, and what they do is they go to the drive-through. They go to this McDonald's and burgers drive-through. They do a circle and then they collect the food and go home. And then there are a third group of people who just order from home, and then they sit in individual sofas with their mobiles, and then they happily have dinner. This is what is weekend.
Yeah.
So this is what I felt that the events or the memberships across the region was happening. I mean, people were all coming. Some of them were enjoying drive-through. Some were sitting with their own mobiles. But I wanted to create a different environment, which I personally say is the sense of belongingness.
Wow.
So what I've done is I've just created a sense of visibility that people, you belong to this profession. I mean, you belong to this institution. So that's what I have created. There are definitely enough number of associations, institutions, clubs, branches. But I think what makes our branch different is the sixth sense. I mean, the sixth sense is this sense of belongingness. Coming to the same point. So belonging to someone, somewhere, finding the connections, the ability to speak to each other.
Yeah.
So there was an era where people were difficult to ask somebody else, what's your price benchmark? But today we have an independent WhatsApp group for only Northern Emirates professionals, where people are happily sharing who are my vendors, what's the benchmarks, what's happening.
Yeah.
So that kind of a philosophy has come in. Definitely there are a lot of gaps. We still haven't been the best, but I'm sure we will go up there. So definitely the founding members, let's say when we started off, let's say like Anisha or Sajin, and then we had some good members like Bala, Amjad, Nihad, Dr. Benjamin, I'm sure you know him.
Yeah.
And then Vanita. And then even in this particular branch, now what we have, Prajinan is joining in. I think youngsters are joining in. One of the vision which we all agreed and which still remains very strong in our region is, in our branch is embrace, enlighten, and empower. So whatever we do, we embrace our professionals. So when somebody comes into the group or somebody attends our seminars, or we just embrace them. So that's giving them the sense of touch. We continue to enlighten them and we continue to empower them. When you talk about empower, everybody wants to sit and stand with a moment of pride in a group. So can everybody do that? That's the question. So I personally feel whoever comes to us, they stand with a lot of pride. They are able to sit, stand, talk, share. So that kind of an independence we are giving them, and I think that's what makes our branch a bit different.
Wonderful. Very comprehensive response. And Hari, what is your opinion? In your opinion, what will be a mentor's role? What should the mentor be doing? And will you like to share your experiences on mentorship? I know you have been very active in Africa, and also your message for the young professionals. So I've combined two or three in one, which is what is your opinion on mentor's role, and what fascinates you to Africa and mentoring, and what is your message for the young professionals?
Okay, let me take it one by one. So first is, how did I get into this?
Yeah.
So one of the CIPS conferences, I met one of the African students, and over a period of 3-4 days, we were sharing, and he was talking about how people life is difficult for them. There are fuel operators, some farmers, and then maybe some technicians who were actually studying procurement more out of passion.
Yeah.
And they were lacking both in terms of the global knowledge or how to drive innovation thoughts, how to change how to bring confidence, where to read, what to do,
Yeah.
how to embrace, let's say, people with a stronger perspectives. So that's how it started. It's almost about now what 7-8 years, and over the last maybe 7-8 years, I think I have more than hundreds and thousands of young students from different universities, from different countries. I think we have now independently created self-independent groups now. The mentors, the people who were with me have created their own mentoring networks. So we do have separate groups in Kenya, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, I think Zambia also, Swaziland, Botswana, Uganda. So these are all places where we have now independently our own groups. So that's about my own mentoring thing. If you talk about mentoring as for a professional, now there are two clear things which I want to mention. I definitely am trying to now build a model for mentoring, which I am very passionate about. Maybe it will take years, but I want to build this model. So why I want to build this is basically because there are a lot of professionals, good professionals, who say that we are mentoring, but then has to be a difference between a consultant or a trainer. There has to be a difference between a role model or a coach, and then comes the mentor. So the role models, coaches, consultants, they will all talk about leaderships, professional behaviors, approaches, experiences, learnings, constructive guidances, maybe also shared practices. But that's not mentoring. For me, mentoring means giving a backbone. So it could start with providing ideas, instigating and enlightening them in their own backyards, helping them to make their own decisions, helping them to make their own learning curves, enabling them to sit and stand, maybe enabling them to learn more, maybe giving them the decision saying that go ahead, I am behind you, but make sure that you are taking your decisions, not me. So that's one thing. So it's not about coaching or training and all. And at every critical stage, I think the guy has to be there. The mentor has to be there so that this person makes a structural pillar or something to stand upon, saying that, okay, I am there. I cannot really say that these are all is what all it should contain, but I mean, from the last 4-5 years, what I have seen, I think these are some of the things. And definitely, as I said, I for sure want to work on a long-term strategy of building a mentoring model. And I think that will be my contribution towards the future for sure. A lot of professionalisms, a lot of professionals are there. There is a lot of hunger in them to knowledge. They want lots of, there is a strong desire, a passion. A lot of youngsters are there in that. So I think if given the right kind of approach or right kind of touch to them, I think they really have the power to professionalism and build the world of professionalism for tomorrow. I think the world needs a lot of professionals, and I think they are one region which can actually bring that out.
Right. I agree with you, Hari. By my own first-hand experience of training in Africa, I was amazed by their hard work, professionalism, and as you said, hunger for learning. And I am seeing within the branch committees and your WhatsApp groups how much they contribute and how much they want to know. You even facilitate their travel here for CIPS conferences. So, and they're a young population which is coming up,
Correct.
and I think a lot of potential in Africa and in the youngsters. So, what will be your message for the young procurement professionals before we wrap up?
The world in future, I mean, the way you are seeing today, the world is going to acknowledge and accept that yes, supply chain and procurement is going to be the future for tomorrow. We need to be very clear in that respect. If you look at any of those prime ministers and presidents today talking around anywhere in the world, everybody is talking about supply chain. So if you want to be known in that same circle globally, then four important things for me is be responsible, be reliable in whatever you're doing, have the right aptitude and the right attitude. As a message, if you're asking me, maybe I would say your world, I mean the professional's world. It's completely like a new drawing sheet. If suppose if you give a drawing sheet to a baby and ask him to color it. So for
Mhm.
me, if you're asking me, procurement is nothing but a very, very special art of applying the science. So procurement is nothing but an art of drawing on a clean sheet of paper every day morning. Apply the science of your own profession and then leave your imprints.
Wow.
If these imprints are not, if these imprints, what you're drawing on a paper,
Mhm.
does not enable your business in terms of profitability or of the alignments, then for sure one day you will be disabled. Nothing is impossible in procurement. You need to be a believer, you need to be an enabler.
So, to wrap up now, and thanks for joining me. Before you go, let me sum up the key learnings from this podcast. You have contributed quite a lot of ideas. So, we started with the thought leadership, and mindset is changing, and which should help us in enabling decision making, where to bend down and look up and be mentally and physically prepared. We have to plan and look ahead, and we have to do proper risk monitoring, governance. And the good message was know entire supply chain very well, use resources effectively, make things simpler, and use technology and automation for getting information and getting analytics, and which should help us in getting and taking the proper decisions. And of course, we have to optimize our relationships internally and externally. And like people ask you what they should do next, you said expect the problems so that you are enabler, be a very good collaborator and a communicator, and be visible to your stakeholders and suppliers. And other things were go to the right sources, collaborate with the suppliers. And the thing which I liked was be more of a sustainable, have more of sustainability rather than surviving. And to gain, this will help to gain the stakeholders' trust and to retain partnerships which are helping us. So these were the things. And other thing is about the branch committees. We asked you the recipe, and what you shared was you want to inculcate the sense of belongingness for the procurement professionals, belongingness and visibility, so that they can embrace, enlighten, and empower. These are your watchwords for your CIPS Northern Emirates Committee. We all know it: embrace, enlighten, and empower. And then you said the chain professionals for tomorrow, they should be responsible and they should be reliable. They should have right aptitude and attitude. So thank you very much for your time, taking out time from your busy schedule in the office and with so many activities which you are doing around the world. So as I told, you are a real role model for us and many things to emulate from you. Thank you very much, Hari.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure, sir. Thank you so much. All the best to all the young professionals out there.
Thank you. Audience, thank you very much for tuning in. You can find all these podcasts which we are conducting under CIPS MENA Procurement Master Talks on the CIPS MENA Facebook page. We'll provide you the link in the show notes. Thank you.